The rain came down in sheets, turning the mountain road into a river of danger. Jack had almost passed the crash without noticing until his German Shepherd, Ranger, suddenly lunged toward the window, barking like he sensed death itself. Jack slammed the brakes, heart pounding, eyes narrowing through the storm. There, half collapsed against a wrecked SUV, stood an old woman, bleeding, shaking, fighting to stay conscious. And nobody else was stopping. Not one car, not one person. Jack jumped out into the freezing rain, racing toward her, aware that saving her life tonight would change his forever. Because what she carried, what she revealed, and what she gave him afterward would shock the entire town. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The storm hammered the mountain road with relentless force, turning every curve into a dangerous gamble. Jack gripped the steering wheel tightly, squinting through sheets of rain that blurred the world outside. His wipers struggled to keep up, smearing water across the glass instead of clearing it. He was exhausted after a long shift at the workshop, desperate to get home before the weather worsened. The road was empty, eerily silent, as if the storm had swallowed every sound except his engine's steady hum. Ranger sat alert in the passenger seat, his ears twitching at every rumble of thunder. Suddenly the German Shepherd stiffened, nose pressed against the rain-soaked window as he let out a low, uneasy whine. Jack shot him a quick glance, sensing the shift instantly. Ranger wasn't reacting to the storm, he'd felt something else. The dog barked sharply, claws scraping the door, urging Jack to slow down before it was too late. Jack eased off the gas, letting Ranger's instincts guide him. As the car crept forward, a faint flicker of light broke through the curtain of rain. Headlights, barely visible, blinked weakly from the side of the road, like a dying signal calling for help. When Jack turned the corner, the scene hit him hard. A silver SUV stood crumpled against the guardrail, its front end crushed, smoke mixing with the pouring rain. Sparks hissed beneath the hood, illuminating shattered glass, scattered across the asphalt like stars. Jack's breath caught as a figure slowly emerged from the wrecked SUV, an old woman. Drenched and trembling, pushed herself upright with visible effort. Blood trickled down her temple, mixing with the rain as she leaned heavily against the twisted doorframe. She took one unsteady step onto the slick road, her legs shaking beneath her. Her coat, once bright red, now clung to her like soaked fabric weighed down by fear. Ranger growled softly, not in warning but in worry, as if sensing her fading strength. She swayed again, this time dangerously close to collapsing. Jack didn't hesitate. He flung his door open and ran into the storm, boots splashing through puddles as cold rain slapped against his face. The old woman's knees buckled just as he reached her, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders to keep her from falling. "It's okay. I've got you," he said, steadying her trembling frame. She leaned into him with a weak sigh, her breath shallow and uneven. Ranger barked urgently from the car, urging Jack to hurry before her strength slipped away completely. As Jack guided her toward his car, the old woman clutched his sleeve with surprising strength. Her eyes, cloudy and frightened, locked onto his with desperate urgency. "Don't let them find me," she whispered, barely audible beneath the roaring storm. Jack froze, confused. "Who? What happened?" he asked, but her grip loosened, her body sagging again. She shook her head weakly, breath trembling. "It wasn't an accident," she murmured. "Please, don't trust everyone." Then her eyes fluttered shut, leaving Jack with more questions than answers. Jack carefully settled the old woman into his car, but Ranger's behavior changed again. The German Shepherd stood rigid, nose lifted toward the tree line as a deep growl rumbled from his chest. His gaze locked on the dark woods beside the road. Jack followed his stare, seeing nothing but shifting shadows and bending branches. Yet Ranger wasn't mistaken. He heard something moving out there. Something or someone watching them through the storm. Jack grabbed the flashlight from his truck and hurried back to the crashed SUV. Rain hammered against the metal, hissing as it hit the smoking engine. He swept the beam across the ground, expecting skid marks or broken branches, anything showing she tried to brake. but the road was clean. No tire streaks. No attempt to slow down. It was as if the SUV had been forced off the lane. Jack's stomach tightened. He leaned inside the wreckage, noticing the driver's seatbelt sliced clean through, not torn. Something wasn't right. As Jack closed the SUV door, a faint groan drifted through the storm. He hurried back to his car and found the old woman slowly lifting her head, eyes glassy but aware. She gripped the seat, struggling to steady her trembling hands. "Don't call anyone from town," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please." "They'll come for me." Jack knelt beside her, taken aback. "Why? Who's after you?" Her breathing turned sharp, her fear unmistakable. "Someone who doesn't want me alive tonight," she whispered. Sirens pierced through the storm, flashing lights cutting across the dark road as the ambulance finally pulled up behind Jack's truck. Paramedics rushed toward them, their jackets whipping in the wind while Ranger barked anxiously from inside the car. The old woman's fingers tightened around Jack's hand when they tried lifting her onto the stretcher. "Don't leave," she pleaded, breath shaking. Jack nodded, staying by her side as they secured her safely. Even the paramedics exchanged stunned glances. She was lucky to be alive at all. At the hospital, after hours of tests and quiet tension, Jack waited outside her room with Ranger lying loyally at his feet. When the old woman finally called for him, her voice was faint but steady. She held a small sealed envelope in trembling hands. "I won't be here long," she whispered, pressing it into Jack's palm. "Open this tomorrow." "Not before?" Jack frowned, confused. But her eyes held a seriousness that silenced every question. "This is all I have left," she said softly. "And tonight you earned it." Then she closed her eyes, exhausted. By morning, word had already spread across the small mountain town. Every cafe booth, porch step, and grocery aisle buzzed with the same story. Jack had saved the reclusive widow who rarely spoke to anyone. People whispered theories, some grateful, others suspicious, wondering why she'd been out alone in such a storm. Jack didn't care about the gossip. He only replayed the night in his mind, wondering what danger she feared, and why she'd trusted him with that sealed envelope. The next morning, Jack sat at his small kitchen table, the sealed envelope resting between his hands. Ranger watched him intently, tail still, sensing the weight of the moment. After a deep breath, Jack finally tore it open. Inside lay a single old-fashioned key, a folded property deed, and a handwritten note in delicate script. His heart thudded as he unfolded the paper. "Jack," it began, "what you did last night was more than kindness. It was courage. This key belongs to a place that needs someone good. Someone worthy. Someone like you?" Jack stared, speechless. Jack unfolded the rest of the note, and the words struck him like a slow, powerful wave. The widow wrote about a night many years ago, a storm just like the one he faced. Her son had skidded off the same mountain road, injured and calling for help, but no one stopped. Not one passing car. By the time she reached him, it was too late. She explained that ever since that night, she withdrew from the world, trust shattered, hope gone. Seeing Jack rush into the storm to save her reopened a wound she believed would never heal. "Your compassion," she wrote, "gave me peace." Jack read the last lines slowly, his hands trembling. The deed, the key, the gift, they weren't random. The widow had left him her entire countryside property, but not because of wealth or inheritance. She believed her son's spirit, a former canine handler, had guided Ranger that night. "My boy loved dogs like yours," the note said. "He would have trusted you." "So do I." Jack swallowed hard, emotion rising in his chest. Ranger nudged his leg gently, sensing his feelings. In that moment, Jack understood. He hadn't just saved a life, he'd been chosen to continue a legacy of courage, compassion, and loyalty that the whole town would soon come to honor.